first of all, for coming to Slovenia, and sharing your story. We felt like let's have an inspirational talk today to figure out how you're building the company. Why did you choose the AI, And because you've also been engaged within Croatian startup ecosystem, you've been the founder of Professional Women's and Men's Network, right? But let's go back to the start, right? To the origin. Tell us, why did you start the company, and what was the why?
Ooh. Where to start? It's like how far back to go? Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. Yeah. I have to say, yes, my Slovene is not that good, but I was able to kind of understand the pitches, and I was impressed by really the ideas, the qualities, the projects, everything that you were doing. And what struck me the most really was that everyone had kind of a progress before joining AVE and after the program, and the progress and strides that were made were really impressive. So kudos to the program, and from what I gathered, to you as well. So when it comes to me, entrepreneurship was a bit of a gradual thing. So I didn't become an entrepreneur right away. I used to work in a big company, in a corporation, in a media company. That lasted for a long time. So after 10 years of that, and after reaching, the point where I realized that I was kind of doing the same thing all over again, I wasn't really developing myself, neither personally nor professionally. And I realized, I've reached the top. There was nowhere more I could go. I moved to a much smaller organization. So that was a big shock for me, because out of a company that had over 1,000 people, I went to a company that had 15 people. So that was interesting.
What was it?
So the second company was kind of a digital agency, digital marketing agency. And because in this first company, I started as a trainee, and towards the end I was the executive director of marketing and director of tourism publishing. But I always had contact with all departments, and I was always kind of had an overview of how the business works. I thought so. Then I came into the small company, and it was, so much to learn of how to actually run a business. So it wasn't my business, but suddenly felt like it was. And one of the biggest things was the shock of realization that you're not in a big system anymore, where you have departments or where you have other people that you can ask to do stuff for you. If you want something done, you have to do it yourself. I'm sure all of you feel the same.
Ladies, you can drop in with questions if you have them, immediately. Feel like we're having like a little larger peer-to-peer session that we anyway know how to have, right? Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
No worries. And now the transition towards the world of AI and this business was also a little bit gradual, should I say, and I have to admit a lot of it has to do with my co-founder and business partner. Because, you got it now. So I worked in the media, then I worked in digital marketing. I am not a tech person, so it wasn't really my idea to enter the world of AI. Wow. Not something that I would come up probably on my own. But because he is the tech whiz guy, but I think, so this second company was his company. Okay. So I first hired his agency while I was in the media to do something for us, a project. Okay. Then I moved to his company, and now we're co-founders, equal co-founders of this AI startup. But he's a computer engineer that has founded his first startup back in '97. So those of you that remember the Winamp, so he and his friends developed the AMP part of it. So yeah, it was kind of huge.
Does anybody know about Winamp? Yeah. Okay.
Some do remember.
The music people.
The music, yeah. And then, I don't know, he worked in Napster as well, while it was still alive. But then he came back to Croatia, and he started the agency a little bit also by mistake, should I say, because they built a game on Facebook, him and his friend, and it became a huge hit. It was for Životinsko carstvo, which I'm sure you all know,
We know that, yeah, of course we do.
So that's how it all started, but there was always some technical element in the, so even marketing campaigns that with the digital marketing campaigns, there was always some technology. And now 7 years ago, damn, time flies, it was end of 2016 when, I remember us, so we moved out of the office, so to have a little bit of peace without having someone like grabbing our sleeves and asking questions. We went to one co-working space, into one meeting room, and we're like, okay, there's something going on in the world of technology. All of a sudden, there were so many buzzwords that were happening at the same time. So we're like, okay, there's AI, there's blockchain, there's IoT, there's augmented reality, virtual reality. Like something's happening. Okay, which out of these seem to have the most potential? Because to be fair, with agency business and with service business, after you do it for a long time, you end up again starting from the beginning with every project. Even though if you have long-term customers, every time you finish a campaign, you again have to fight for a new campaign with our agencies, everything. So it does get a little bit tiring. So we really wanted to go into something where we can build a solution, and of course, so technology is there, and in the end it was like, okay, AI, there's really some tectonic changes are happening, because at that time what was really noticeable was the jump in quality in processing of language. And that was most visible with Google Translate, believe it or not. Because some 10 years ago it was a laughing stock, you know, you must have used Google Translate to do this.
I remember.
And then all of a sudden it was like, hey, this is good. Like it's translating better than me. So started using it. So bit by bit and a little bit, again, by chance, I have to admit, so with startups, people usually say, you know, that founders start a startup because they're solving some pain point that is usually their own. With us, it wasn't really like that. Like the problem found us. We didn't find the problem. Because it came out of the cooperation with one large retail bank, working with them, helping their data science, improved the algorithms, the predictive models that we're doing, and then by working closely with them, realizing, okay, there's a lot of room for improvement, as one would say, and that there is something that can be built here because it's too costly, too time-consuming for the companies for whom technology is not their core business to develop it internally. Because they usually don't have neither enough people, enough time, enough expertise. So, okay, maybe we can build it and then start offering it. So that's how I ventured into the world of AI, which again, coming back to having no technical background whatsoever, was very interesting. First 6 months, but still today, because I have to tell you, like my first 6 months of really us working on AI was predominantly my co-founder talking some technical something, which sounded gibberish to me nodding as if I understand what he's saying, writing down, trying to figure out if I really wrote the word that he said, and then Googling like maniac afterwards, like, what the hell is this?
Can anybody, everyone who's building a tech startup can relate? Yeah, we have ladies here, yeah. Who are not engineers, right?
So I'm not, okay. So it was an interesting period, I have to say. But one of the things that really comes out of it is, again, realization that you can learn. Okay, I'll never deep dive into the subject. I'm not going to become a programmer. I'm not going to become an engineer because, to be fair, I'm not really that interested in it. Otherwise, I would have gone down that path. But you know, I found it enough to scratch the surface so that I can understand the concepts, let's say the overarching picture of what that technology can do and how we can use it, and then translate it to the language of regular people, because that is one thing that I think is very underestimated, because, you know, in tech world, especially in tech startup world, it's predominantly guys, engineers, I have to say. So when they speak to them, like between themselves, they understand each other. But when they have to go to the market and really sell the service to business people, then they do have a little bit of a problem. So it's, in the end, I think it's a position that's useful.
Of course, you know, and especially because we're anyway lacking, you know, and you're actually paving the way, right? And paving the way for everyone, you know, after you, right? You know, because building, there's not a lot of tech female founders in general, you know, and we're all trying to build that. And I believe that you're like taking a stance for everyone, you know. How do you feel about that?
Trying to, you know, and especially trying to stress that I don't have technical background and I'm still in the world of technology. I'm still in the world of AI. I'm the one giving lectures on AI now as well, so it really can be done. It just takes, okay, the famous lifelong learning, it's really true, because especially now with technology, everything's changing so quickly that what we knew is not necessarily true anymore, and things are changing in such lightning speed that we have to constantly learn everything that is coming, otherwise we'll become obsolete. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I really want to say that I know that a lot of women are, okay, it's changing slowly. More young girls are entering into STEM fields, are enrolling into technical universities, but still there is a lag that needs to be overcome. But you can enter the world of technology even if you're not.
And that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, you know, because, and now, you know, the AI, I mean, we know about AI like for the last 50 years, right? And because I've listened to your podcast, so I kind of know.
70,
yeah, but 50 years, right? 70, yeah.
No, so the term was coined in 1950s.
1950s, right? So, and you know, there's a buzzword now, right? So what would you say, you know? Because even if you're not in tech, you know, of course, I hope everyone started using it. If not, please do. What would be free, let's say free steps, you know, or free suggestions for everyone, you know, how to think about it, you know, what to use.
I mean, I think it's now more than obvious that it's going to stay and it's going to transform our lives both professionally and privately. I mean, all of us here are already using AI every day, even though maybe we're not aware of it, but every time you open, I don't know, social media, there's some algorithm running in the background. Now what happened is, out of a sudden, AI came out of its, should I call it a little bit of a bubble of, you know, being still in the world of scientists and engineers and coming and spilling into the general public because of ChatGPT. So what I mentioned, that we had strides in the language processing some 10 years ago. Now it has like one like this. People have realized that it's not longer something that's in science fiction, and it's not something that it's you know, somewhere there happening. It's here. Now, one thing that is maybe sometimes forgotten is that AI, usually when people think about AI, they do think of what they've seen in the movies and in the series. So, you know, the so-called general AI, which is, okay, we have machines that are completely the same like humans, they have the same reasoning, whatever, the emotions, like they can act exactly the same like humans do. But we are not there yet. And even though maybe the ChatGPT, which is actually one brand of large language models, but that's besides the point, why it has taken the world by the storm and why people are a little bit afraid of this notion of machines that are going, usually the idea is that they're going to wipe the human race off the planet and we're going to disappear, but the ChatGPT sounds human, quote unquote, because when you, again, talk to it, you know, when you ask something and then you get the response, it's really, there is that feeling as if there's a human being on the other side that is talking to you. And that's why out of a sudden I was like, oh, AI, oh, there's something's going on. But it's still, I mean, it is developing quickly, but it's not a technology yet. Will it happen? I don't know. I'm not that much of an expert. Will really transform into that general AI? I don't think anyone really knows, and we'll see how that happens or what happens in that area. But it is something that now everyone has to start using, okay, yesterday, because what will happen that those that use AI to help them become more efficient are going to run over those that are not using it. So I know it may be scary a little bit because a lot of people are now thinking, like, really, will AI take my job? And that is one of the things that also happened is that we thought that we'll first have, I don't know, self-driving cars and that all our intellectual jobs are safe. It seems that it's the other way around. But again, right now, those that use technology are more efficient than those that don't. So you really need to start trying it out, if nothing else. But also be aware of its limits. Don't act like one attorney in the US who asked ChatGPT to write him a case, basically, for the court. And then ChatGPT gave everything, like the whole case and all the precedents, all the cases that happened before, because especially in the US, a lot of ruling is based on what was ruled before. And it turned out that ChatGPT made up all the examples. So do not trust it. Always take whatever you get as a response with not a grain of salt, but shovel of salt, and to check, triple check, like check 10 times to make sure that the responses you get are actually correct, because that is one of the problems. It sounds confident, again, quote unquote, and it sounds like there's a certainty in the responses you get, but it's a language model that is simply trained on the data that exists, that is generating responses, but it doesn't know if something is correct or is not correct. It just generates, and now, depends on the people and humans who will give the feedback and train again and everything. That maybe someday it's going to become completely correct, but that is questionable.
And now you've been the spokesperson about the AI, right? I would say a lot of times. No, I'm joking. But tell us, so what kind of product are you building? Tell us so we kind of understand. Because I heard the predictability and everything in machine learning, but so we can all understand.
So I always say, like, we've used we're using generative AI before it was cool, because now everyone knows about it and heard about it because of ChatGPT and language processing. But when we started, we ventured into the world of AI, we decided that we are not going to deal with language and we are not going to deal with computer vision, so the photos and videos, because we saw that there's so many things going on already in those fields, and probably going to be crowded as hell, and okay, let's focus on something else. So what we do in our models focus on business data, and they're called event-based data. So any business that has end customers and that is tracking interactions that those end customers have with the business has that type of data has those data sets. So that's just to give some examples. I mentioned we were working with a bank. So bank, for example, has transactions. Every time you make a transaction, you buy something with a credit card, you, I don't know, take the cash out of ATM, or you go to the store, you make a transaction, and that is like each transaction is an event that you do. Then, for example, maybe you have a mobile app of that bank. So every time you open that application, when you click something on it, again, that click is an action, it's an event. Or I don't know, the bank has contacted you in some way, whether it was email, whether it was text messages, whether it was a call. All of those, again, are interactions that the business has with you as end customers, and it's an event. So what we focused on is really that type of data, and we developed or actually innovated neural network architecture specifically for this type of data. We did inspire ourselves with the advancements that were happening in language, those that I mentioned when we saw that Google Translate is suddenly good. So we did, we tried those out, how to copy the logic of the techniques to this type of data. It immediately gave better results than the standard models and techniques that were existing at that time. But then we realized that, long term, everyone's going to try to do the same and mimic those techniques. So what can we do to really differentiate ourselves? And we did it by focusing very deeply on the parameter of time. Because if you think about it in business, time is a very crucial element. So in language, it's not, because language doesn't really change over time. It's the same. And also, if you look at a sentence, for example, there's no time distance between the words. Like they come one after another, and there's no time involved whatsoever. In business, well, things can change overnight. Businesses can open, businesses can close. New competitors might come into the market, and suddenly, again, our behavior changes of what we do. We saw the global events, such as the pandemic or the war in Ukraine. Again, it changed a lot of things in business. Then there's also things with, for example, seasonality. It also changes different how we behave during the weekday or weekend, in the morning, in the evening, summer or winter, we do different things. And then there's also the time when it comes to trends, because over years, you have different things that are happening. So for example, every year we have more users of credit cards compared to users of cash. So time in business is really, really important. So what we did is really innovated the techniques for this type of data and modeling time, which was pretty difficult to do, but luckily, again, my tech whiz co-founder was able to really find something. And we found the techniques that give, at the moment, the best accuracy in the world on this type of data sets, which we can actually compare ourselves to publicly available results. And we are beating likes of IBM and likes of Google, comparing ourselves with their methods and their models. But what's, I think, more important with these techniques that we even managed to file and get a patent for, which is, it was a long and costly and painful process, but
I heard it was really fast,
It was fast, it was still costly. It really depends on what the need is. Okay, of course, there are several people who are kind of in the closest circle, especially when it comes, for example, with the associations that we created. So, if I need something right away, it's very time sensitive that I get at least any type of feedback, then I do have several people who are very close friends. But it really, really depends on the problem and issue and challenge that I have, because you want to get advice from the person who has some experience with it. So it's finding someone and asking that person, not being afraid or, I don't know, ashamed or whatever, Because, as I said, it may be a little bit of a bubble, but everyone is really so prepared to give a hand. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to build here at Seed. As you probably noticed, right? Because we're all like rejoicing each other's successes and failures. And
I love the fact that when everyone was coming out in front, there was so much applause and
right, and so
cheering.
much energy and cheer. Yeah, yes, we're really trying to do that. So, if there any more questions?
I get along a lot with your words because I also work in a company that I'm the only one that does not have IT knowledge. So in the end of every meeting that we have, I also have to Google first. So what I see here is, like you said, I also want to contact you because I see there's, regarding machine learning, I know that in Slovenia, there are also companies that ask us about that, but we don't want to do that. We want to make partnerships for some subject, but I think that what's more, like you said, everyone cares about that. And Slovenia is really so small company and small business, so my question maybe was, who is if you can name your target customers, or who are your customers? Because we are here IBM, but in Slovenia, Watson did 2 companies.
No, so with us, as I said, we started first by working with the bank. So we thought that, okay, financial industry is going to be our target market, working with transactional type of data. And then little by little, we realized that basically any company that has this type of data, as I said, that's logging interactions with the end customer, can be our client. Because, okay, financial industry, telecoms, retail, web shops, any web shop logs, you know, the activities that are happening on the shop itself. And for what I said, because we managed to innovate these architectures of neural networks that are very lean, so very cost-effective and efficient, we can basically offer it to almost any size of the company, because it doesn't really matter how big or small it is. So yeah, anyone who wants, should I say, understand their end customers better, try to profile them better, but in a period of time, certain moment of time. Because, you know, many companies, when they're trying to do segmentations, they do the classical socio-demographic thing. But, you know, 2 people who are have the same age, same gender, same, I don't know, type of job and everything can be 2 completely different persons who don't share the same interests and the same behavior. So what we do with our techniques, we really find similar people within the customer base, but based on their behavior of what they're doing when they're interacting with that business. So we managed to profile them, and then the second step is the actual use case, predicting something that the company wants to know. Is it, okay, which out of my customers am I supposed to call and offer this product because they're most likely to buy it between day, I don't know, 7 and 28. Which out of my customers is most likely to churn, to leave my business and my product, something, so I want to, of course, stop them before they leave. So it's the types of use cases that are related to the end customers and trying to really understand their needs much better in a certain moment of time, and then use that knowledge to increase revenue or decrease cost, as it's usually the case with the businesses.
So this is where I have another question. According to what you say, are customers willing to pay that much money? Because, you know, I know that most of our I have a potential, there's a lot of potential, but who is ready to pay for that? Because like this conversation that now you were explaining, we also talk about in BI, in this kind of questions, that they can see now, you can see that your customer is not paying, you can see now which are the best 5 articles that they're buying, so, but how do you get the cost?
So what we do is we based our cost on the number of monthly active users, so the size of the customer base that the business has and how much it costs us to do the trainings and predictions, and then build a margin on top of that. So a classical SaaS approach. And why do they pay is because very quickly they see the value. So as I said, for example, that bank first, when we worked with them, we increased their conversion, sales conversions 4 times, not 4%, 4 times. I can tell you that they've earned a lot of money on us, which at the time we weren't in this mode, so we didn't really charge them enough. But they were valuable customers for us because of the access to data, as I said. So now they're becoming a commercial, recurring revenue paying customer because they do see the value. And it always starts kind of with that. You have to show them the value that they can get, and then when they see the numbers and the difference that they can make, if they use your solution or not, then they will pay.
We have time for one question.
Yeah, I'm from company OmniOpti. We're doing optimization of logistics mostly. And we have I guess everybody has similar problems, right? A lot of POCs and so on. So I understand you were bootstrapping in the beginning, and now did I understand that you got some investors already or not? And what was the experience, and what are the plans for the future?
Yeah. So, so far we only have angel investors. That majority are from Croatia. We do have some that are from abroad. But I have to admit, for example, with them we raised through a convertible note, so something that is only going to convert into equity at some point in future, because it's much easier to do it that way. Again, coming back to Croatian entity legislation, tax framework.
Same financial instrument here as well.
And now, so we now started commercializing. We came out of the closed beta at the end of last year. So just this year we started getting contracts and recurring revenue. And now we are raising a seed round so that we can kind of hit the gas pedal, so to say, because all things that we did so far was a team of 5. And now if we really want to, kind of like wrap the product, like, convert technology into a product, maybe I should put it that way, really finalize that part and really start selling that, then we need more people, and in order to hire more people quickly, then of course again you need some cash. But one of the things that maybe I didn't mention is the go-to-market strategy. So yeah, the POCs are always a little bit needed, but it also depends a lot on how you approach. So initially we thought that we were going to do the classical top-down enterprise sales. We're going to knock at companies' door. And we actually got a lot of interest also because we use PR a lot. So we are present in the media, so companies hear about us and then they come to us inquiring. But the process of trying to really do the sales in that classic approach is so painful. Who can relate?
Who likes sales? Who likes it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you realize that...
because if you're all founders, sales it's a necessity, right? You have to do it.
It's like every CEO is a salesperson, bottom line, but really talking to enterprise, especially if they're larger clients, it's so difficult because it takes so much time, because you have to do gazillion meetings with different people, different departments, and then, we manage to explain to the business, oh, this is great for you, and then, of course, they put us down to the technical people, and then technical people are blocking because they're afraid we're going to steal their job. So then we have to, again, spend time to explain to them that we're just making their work more efficient. So, this is the sales cycle. Classical sales cycle is like months and months and months.
Like 6 months, right?
Minimum.
Or maybe, or 18, right? Yeah, you know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So at some point last year, we decided that we are going to go bottom up. So we decided we're going to take the open source route. We're going to open our code, publish it, give it to developers to try on their own. And it's a bit of a different approach because I think we all forget how much influence the developers have also within those organizations. And when you give them a tool that they love, that they're going to fight for it internally. So with us, we were like, okay, we decided that we're going to go that route, that first we're going to open source some developer tools that we built internally for our own needs to integrate with streaming platform for one client. Then we're going to open source the core technology and then the rest of the platform, so the orchestration pipeline and everything. But we weren't really sure how that's going to pan out, I have to admit. It was like, okay, we're going to go this way because we see the potential there in making our lives easier. But we weren't that certain. It was like a hypothesis. I mean, it still is, I have to admit, a little bit. But 2 months ago, we open sourced one of the tools that we built, and seems like we hit the nail on the head with it, because the developers really loved it, and it got that, you know, the J curve in the reactions and feedback and adoption from the developer community, which again, we see it now as our entryway to the companies. But it's a free tool that we want to keep for free, and our AI part and predictions is supposed to be an add-on to it. So again, the hypothesis is that they will convert into paying customers.
So like freemium and premium.
A little bit, yeah. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. So, but yeah, it's difficult. You have to also figure out how to find the best way of approaching the clients, approaching the market, the famous go-to-market strategy. And you have to test things out. You have to find, because if you choose one direction, and if it's very difficult, if it's very painful, you might get killed on the way, so to say. So I think it's always good to see whether there are any other approaches, making partnerships, for example, with other companies who have, you know, already a portfolio of clients. Maybe that's a much easier way than going one company at a time. But yeah, you all, so there was someone here with going from B2C to B2B, for example.
Yeah.
Yes, that was, yeah.
Okay, you can ask, and then we're going to have to.
Thank you. Yeah, I could relate on many levels listening to you, especially coming from finances and then going into learning and tech and having the developers from the other countries. So yeah, I do data analysis by myself because numbers are my thing. Even to the extent that I can tell which school in Slovenia has the most shitty math teacher. Oh, wow. That's how far these things go. But entering, like, the number of subscribers we have in Slovenia is just really small. Entering the huge market, a tool like yours, I can't imagine how to do it without it. So I would love to connect more to see what we can create together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Heidi, we'll have to finish our conversation. I'm really sorry. Heidi, you were incredible, you know. We talked 2 weeks ago, and then I went to your Instagram, you know, and I saw that you're like a wine enthusiast, and I said, look, you came from Zagreb, you know, to Ljubljana, drove here in the morning, you know, to come and share your story. We said we wanted to give you a little a gift. It's called a gift, yeah. It's Movia. It's a really cool Slovenian wine, and we wanted to have.
Oh, thank you. No, but really, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for giving me a chance to experience this here, because really the positivity that you have here and the difference that you're making is really, really something
Thank
amazing.
you, and I hope you're going to come back, right? We're going to do major and big things together. Thank you, Hajdi, again.
Thank you all.